like the Star Wars in the backdrop.
Yeah. I try to change some of these up depending on who the guest is, but yeah, I know you guys like Star Wars, obviously. Who doesn't like Star Wars?
Right?
Exactly. What?
Oh, I said right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't
I
trust
used to have
somebody.
that
who doesn't-
poster. That was a good one.
Which one?
I had that the original Star Wars one. I think in high school I had that hanging up.
Oh yeah, I know.
A good one.
That's so cool. Yeah, because like there's a few different original posters for the original movie, right? Like depending on the
Oh
which
yeah.
country or I don't know what timing it was. Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Matthew and okay.
Oh, but Will, I want to watch you. I got videos. It's okay. I'll watch those.
So you prefer, John, you prefer to be called Harv? Is that
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
My dad's name is John.
okay? Harv and you and Matthew, you go by Matthew and not Matt. or
No,
Matt.
I go by whatever. It just
Oh.
looks so formal when you have Matthew on that. So
Yeah.
whatever
awesome.
is fine. Matt is
I feel
perfect.
like what's that?
Matt is perfect.
I feel like I'm with my people. Like you guys are kind of nerdy and geeky like me. This is great. Right? That's
It's
a compliment.
true, yeah.
That's a compliment. Like
Yes, we are 100% nerds.
And
Yeah.
and we're just as awkward, so it's great.
Yeah. So you got that covered.
this is gonna be fun. I can already tell. Yeah. So this new project, this is cool. The how do you come up with the name Von Dingles? It sounds like
I asked Harv the
Dutch-
same question.
Well, there's actually two reasons for it. Number one, I like the idea of something fancy and not fancy, or something fancy and not fancy. So Von sounds kind of fancy, and Dingles is the opposite. Also, I grew up in Minnesota, and I don't know if you knew, but like the stuff that's behind the wheel when you're driving that gets kind of dirty, it's called a Van Dingle. So you kind of put those two together, Von Dingle, Van Dingle. The
Oh,
Von
I never heard of that. Van.
You never heard that? It's like
Dingle?
it's like the dingle that hangs behind the tire. You know, like when the snow kicks up and it gets dirty. Yeah, it's a Van Dingle.
Oh, okay.
Harv's
I guess
the
you didn't
Midwest.
know.
I'm assuming you're not from the Midwest.
No, I'm originally from Seattle and now I live in Phoenix. So I know a little bit
Oh.
about both of those areas, but not I've been to Chicago like twice. I've never been to Minnesota.
Okay. So you didn't grow up in the land of the Van Dingles then?
No, that's interesting though. So the other people that grew up in the Midwest would get that reference though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, not like a whole ton, but something that my friends and I would say.
Okay. And so what this is about, it's an interesting premise. It's misfit Easter eggs that were never found. But it's funny because I remember I found an Easter egg once. It had to have been months, if not maybe years later.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like digging in the backyard. So that is a thing that because they're trying to get found, but sometimes they do get found, right?
Yeah. Well, I've never found one. That was my mystery, is when you'd lay them out, when they'd be hidden for Easter, I always wondered what happened to them. Like, where did they go? You found that mystery. It sounds like you found them. So your life is fulfilled and congratulations.
Stale candy, but it's like a bonus, because when you find an egg on Easter, it's not as exciting. You're like, well, I'm going to find like 40 more. But when you find one in like August, you're like, wow, it's like a bonus. Free candy.
Yeah, well, there you go. I wish I had that life experience. I want to hear your story.
It wasn't that exciting, but yeah. No, but so this is cool because you can create whatever. I mean, just the short I saw is so creative, but you can there's so many different ideas for this, and it can and is this going to keep going on? Is this more like a TV series or like a movie?
Yeah, well, it started as a short that we created in between a couple TV shows that we were working on. We had artists that were at the studio and we put them together and we made this really cute short for Halloween. And after that, we wanted to tell a bigger story. And that's where the graphic novel came in, is what we wanted to tell in stop motion would be a really big, expensive thing. So we were able to tell our story, but in a smaller format, which is really exciting.
Okay, so it's because now it's on Kickstarter, and that's the route you've chosen. Is that just so you have 100% creative control?
Yes.
Yeah,
it's
go ahead, Matt.
twofold. I was going to say it's that, and then also like it creates a fan base, which I think is great. We've never done something like this before. We thought it'd be an interesting route just to see what it would, how that would play out. Yeah, and it's worked out beautifully. We achieved our goals. We're ready to move on, and we're ready to make this thing.
Yeah, it's cool. Like the thing I love about Kickstarter is all the rewards, and some of them are already sold out, but for $24 that's like one of the lower ones. You can get the printed graphic novel, $45 for the hardcover, $250 you get a signed cover, hardcover and figures, and then for $1,000 you can actually voice a character. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get creative with what it is. And again, even for that voice the character, it's like taking that original short and like subbing you out and making you the star of that short that we did. It's going to be great. So, yeah, it'll be nice and fun.
Oh, so you're the star for no, not for
Well, not the
1,000.
stars.
Okay.
You're in that thing. Yes, of that.
Like, is it like a background thing? Could you even know that it's you, or do you actually have like a line that's clear that you could?
Yes. Again, it's taking the short that already exists and making and making you into that. So like,
Oh, I see.
You've already seen what you're going to become, and then you get your own version of that.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's a kind of an idea. You get to be the star.
And then you can show it and post it and tell everybody you are.
Are you guys doing any of the voices? Because you've done voices before for stuff. I know you don't really like to though.
I am not. I hate when I do voices, but they always force me to. But no, we have. I mean, you can talk about that, Marv.
Yeah, I didn't do any of the voices. We had Seth Green, Claire Grant, and Dee Snider do a voice. They do a much better job than we do. No offense, Matt.
It's okay. None taken.
Yeah, I saw that. I've had Dee Snider on the show a couple times. He's a character. He's so fun. What made you think to get him?
We're friends with him, and I'm a big fan of his music, and he has such a unique voice and personality that when we were putting this together, he seemed like the perfect person for two of the roles. One was the narrator. He's got such a deep, velvety voice that fit perfect. And then there was a Sarge character that's just kind of alpha male-ish, no offense, D, but that also fit his personality. So he kind of was pegged in a few different spots. And it worked really well. And, recording him was really fun to do. So it was just an exciting thing.
Or is there going to be more guest stars as well? Because I know like with Robot Chicken, you have so many famous people on that show.
Yeah, I think we would do the same thing. Don't you think, Matt?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it comes down to when that next thing is ready to get made. We'll go down that path. But for right now, it's focusing on the comic book version and or the graphic novel version and doing it that way. And and then we'll see what this evolves into.
So will it keep going different Kickstarter phases and stuff? That will be the whole thing, you think?
Don't know, to be honest. This is a new path for us. We're not sure how this will continue yet. Kickstarter worked out beautifully, so there's conversation about us going down that path. Will this evolve? I mean, will people like it enough to want to turn it into a show? That might be the next step. A lot of question marks, but we do know that we want it to continue, and we're excited to walk down those paths.
And because none of the other studios or producers or whoever the people are that would reach out, that no one's reached out and been like, hey, we want to take this on. We want to give you like 6 episodes or something on Comedy Central.
As much as I would love streaming services and networks to do that, it won't quite work that way, because they'd want a pilot, and then they'd want to see how the pilot does, and then they'd have to test it, and it's just such a long process. For us now, we can actually create something and see how people like it, and then based on that, get that fan base. And it's better to license something out than just to sell it where they own it.
That's crazy. So even with your guys' reputations and Robot Chicken and Crossing Swords and all this other stuff, like you don't have total freedom where you can do whatever you want.
No, I mean, that's the case with all things. Like if you walk into, I'm just trying to think of, being named directors still have to go through the process of stuff like that. Yeah. We definitely have sway, and we can definitely push things, but it still will. Everybody needs to check everything out to make sure they're safe, especially in the industry being where it is today. It's we just got over a couple strikes. Companies are, how much money do companies have? We have to wait and see and be cautious.
Is Robot Chicken, is that still active?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So you're still going to be doing that too. We
just did a Pop-Tarts commercial, which we just got out of the strike, so this is all conversation now. So we're in discussion right now.
So were you doing a lot of this during the strike time because you had downtime?
Kind of. I mean, this was produced before the strike, and then you're correct, in the graphic novel and the Kickstarter was done in between, or I guess during the strike, because we had a few minutes to think about it. So The answer is, I guess, yes. It was kind of a little bit of a strike project.
Yeah. So you started, Harv, you started with stop motion with G.I. Joe figures as a kid. How long did it take you? Because I remember doing this when I was a kid. My dad bought a video camera in the 80s and he's like, oh, we can do this like stop motion with your G.I. Joe guys. I was like, oh, okay. And like, I gave him like a figure. And just to have the guy walk, I mean, it took so long. I was like,
Yeah.
I was gone. I had lost interest. I was like, I'd went and watched TV or something. Like, how much patience did you have to make films as a kid at 11 or 12?
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. You know, the funny thing is, I was a little backwards. I wanted to be like a cartoonist, like a Disney animator, around 11 or 12, and I just couldn't draw. My skills kind of sucked. So then I went into stop motion to express stories because I couldn't draw, and it was the same kind of thing as with VHS cameras, GI Joe figures, and Star Wars. And the other thing is, I'm not really a patient person, but I just really wanted to see these things move and tell a story. So I don't know. Somehow it worked out, and I guess I haven't really stopped pushing my toys around in front of the camera because I'm still doing it even after all those years. But I really like doing it then, like you said, around 11 and 12, and I just haven't stopped.
Is that the same for you, Matt? Did you start with stop motion or did you start
No,
with?
I started in comic books actually. I was a big comic book nerd back in the day, and
That's right. Because
yeah,
you worked at Marvel, right? You had an internship or
I had an
something?
internship at Marvel back in like 91 when it was not cool to work at Marvel. People made fun of me for it, which is so
That
weird
is
to think
so
about.
weird.
It is. It really is. Like, I still remember people in high school making fun of the fact that I was there and they were asking me why. I was like, it's cool. It's so awesome. I get free comic books. But
And didn't you say all the people that you worked with, a lot of them moved up in Marvel and are like
yeah,
producing movies now and stuff?
yeah. I mean, like, I look back, Joe Madureira, who's a very talented, he now runs his own video game company, was an intern at the age 16. We were both high school interns at the time. You know, as I was coming out and just started working at Wizard, I was friends with Jeff Johns and Kevin Feige, who were working at the Donner Company. Yeah, it was really a bizarre like group of people. And especially when I was working at Wizard just at that time, so many people were breaking into comics, and just to see like people like Robert Kirkman turn into who he is today, and like, you know, watching that whole Image crew of like Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee like explode the way they did, it's really phenomenal. It was a really fun time in the industry.
So was it surreal when you got Stan Lee to voice a character on Robot Chicken?
I have many good Stan Lee stories. He was
Really?
yeah, he honestly, it's like he really focused on the person who was with him, and he's definitely taken me into worlds I cannot believe. So I've had one of the best dinners of my life with him. So yeah, it's one of those. So it's nice to think about.
So wait, what's the best story then?
You know, it's one of those that I'll tell offline.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
It's that naughty.
Yeah.
What good stories do you have from all these? I mean, just looking at the Robot Chicken guest stars, I didn't realize, like, I knew there was cameos and stuff, but when I was looking last night, I was like,
You know, I
oh my
owe
God, you guys have literally had every, like, not
I
only
owe a lot of
actor,
that
but,
to
like,
Seth.
icons.
I really do owe a lot of that to Seth. Seth's been in the industry since he's been like 6-7 years old, and he's got to work with all these great people. And when we started Robot Chicken, we were talking about guest stars. He was like, hey, I just worked on Scooby-Doo. Let's bring in that cast. Like, hey, you know, I did this thing with Charlize Theron. We should bring her in. Like, it was just casual. Like, I know this person. Let's see if they'll do it for $5. And it was a lot of that for that first season. And, you know, we were surprised by the amount of people that we got. So going into that second and third season, once we were established, people wanted to be on the show and were coming up to us to be on the show, which was really flattering. So yeah, it's nice for me, who didn't know these people, to get to know them and know them where they remember me, which is beyond flattering.
So, like, it's not a thing where they will do the voiceover at home and send you a tape or do it at their own. They come into your studio and, like, I'm assuming there's some that you make sure that you're there that day.
I'm there for everyone. Yeah. I make a point to be at every record. Same with Seth. He's pretty much at every record up until like COVID time. You know, we would be there for the records, and it's always fun because you don't know what they're going to provide and what they're going to do. It's really, yeah.
And it was also kind of wild because at the studio, you'd never know who would be there that day. Like Matt would know the schedule and who's coming in. but just you could be working at the studio and then you'd see someone walk by and you're like, oh my God, was that, you know? So that was always kind of neat. Like any day at work, you could see someone that you'd recognize, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and it's fun walking them around after the fact. Like they want to see the stages, they want to see how things are built, and I think it was great for our crew to be able to interact with them in such a wonderful way, because it felt safe. It was a safe environment. They'd walk in with like pajamas on to do these records, and you know, it was a very casual experience with them. So
which ones stand out? Like who came in and just blew you guys away, like ad-libbing or just being funny?
Oh wow. God, the first it always differentiates. I would say the one that comes to mind right now is Chris Pine, and I'm not sure why. I always think of Chris Pine as the cool kid, and then you have him in there and he's doing voices that you didn't expect. I'm like, oh, you're good at everything. Like it's you know, Don Knotts and Phyllis Diller for me made a difference. Like yeah, it's wild to have like these different type of actors in that booth. And now it's ones that like my daughter would be amazed by, like Zac Efron, who could not be nicer. And yeah, every time he was in, and he's been in multiple times now, he just would sit around and chat about life and the universe, and it was really really grounded individual.
And like a guy like David Lynch, I mean, that guy's like a genius, amazing director. How do you direct him? Like, how do
that
you?
Was a bizarre one. Yeah. David Lynch, we were trying to figure out who that scientist would be because he's never talked in like however many years. And we're like, we need someone unique to stand out. And one of our writers just was like, what about like a David Lynch? And all of us looked at each other and were like, all right, let's try that. And, yeah, ended up recording him at his house of all places. Yeah,
wow.
It was.
Well, and then so Dee Snider, he's obviously a character, I'm a fan of that music as well. Well, you had Sebastian Bach on for a couple episodes. He was like my idol in high school. Was he a character? I feel like everyone that ever meets him has a story.
You know, we had a photo booth in our studio, and we have a wonderful photo with him because he got really silly in that photo booth, and yeah, went all out, and tongues out, all out.
Is it weird too? Because like you said, you said you were a nerd, you know, you're made fun of for working at Marvel. But now, I mean, the other part of the guest stars that's cool is like you have some of the most beautiful women in the world coming into your studio, like Sydney Sweeney and Scarlett Johansson, all these like real, like, you know, people's most beautiful.
My Barbie. She's my Barbie always. Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah, and you know, look, and I love that Barbie movie. It was even better than I could have imagined that movie. I'll praise that to the day I die. But still, Sydney Sweeney will always play Barbie now for me.
Yeah, you're a fan of Euphoria.
I am. Yes, I watched that with my wife.
That's a crazy show. Like I grew up on like the Saved by the Bell. You had like half the cast of Saved by the Bell on Robot Chicken too. Like that stuff is so cool as well.
Yeah, again, you sit around, you try to figure out who you want for these voices, and half the time it's like, who have I always admired and adored and wanted to meet? And the other half is, who do you think is talented and can be this character? And it's trying to put the two pieces together, and that's really how you do it.
You've had almost everyone on your wish list except maybe one or two.
Yeah,
Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise, are those the two?
Who's that?
Didn't you say Harrison Ford and Tom Cruise are the
I like
two?
that you repeated that, but yes,
Ford, right?
those are the two I need. Yeah.
Job.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy when you go through it really is like you had almost.
I was so close to Harrison Ford. To I will say, to Jon Favreau's credit, they were working on what was it? Cowboys and Aliens. Yep, and he called and he's like, if you can get here in the next like few hours.
You didn't do it?
Well, I didn't get the voicemail till much later, which was regretful. And then we looked at flights, and there's no direct flight. You had to fly through like Phoenix to get there. We wouldn't have made it.
Well, maybe for this new one, then maybe you can get them for the new one.
Exactly. I always go out.
Like, how many egg puns will there be in this? Because I can think of so many just off the top of my head. But is there going to be a lot of that stuff in this?
We try to keep that stuff limited because it's endless,
right?
So, well, a couple well placed ones, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and also when you do comedy like that, those egg puns they won't land like you're expecting those. It's like it's almost like Smurfs in a way, where if they
Yeah.
Smurf too much, you get a little tired of it. You know, it needs to fit in properly.
Yeah, and try to find a way to make it creative, like a clever way to draw one of those out that
Yeah.
people maybe haven't thought of a lot, like excellent and cracked up. Like maybe those are too much.
Yeah.
That's done
Yeah.
too much. But there's something else that you guys are smarter than me. You probably
Every
think
time I read something that Harv is doing that says that, I put a circle around it and go, nope.
really you cancel
please.
out his puns.
Harv, you can talk about this better than I.
Just, we got it limited, right? You just do it in a small dose for that real home run, but that makes it special.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because you guys with Robot Chicken, I feel like you look at that show and you go, and the new stuff too with the egg stuff, the Von Dingles. I feel like both of these shows, and probably everything you guys have done, all the stop motion. I feel like it's meant for people that do drugs. Well, you guys don't do drugs, right?
You
I think that's
know,
probably our good audience, right?
I'm
If they're a little
embarrassed to say,
stoned
and
or
this
drunk.
might make me too nerdy. I've never done drugs.
That's so crazy. Yeah, I
I
never even
know.
tried it. Never tried an edible or anything.
I know it's scary. People have tried to get me to too.
But
You
how
gotta
many
slip
of,
it
like
in.
of your audience? How much do you think like of the people that watch the show are stoners?
To each their own. To each their own. You know.
Matt, they're our bread and butter.
Right? Because you meet the fans. Like you go to these Comic Cons.
I love the fans. Yeah, and I always like asking them what their favorite is, and their favorite's always something different. You never get the same answer of like this fan's favorite sketch is going to be something completely different from your favorite sketch of Robot Chicken. It's hard to. They all like a type, but that's what I like. It's the popular ones, but that number one favorite is going to be something weird.
There's so, I mean, the greatest thing about that show is it's just so random. You could turn it on in the middle. That's what was so cool. Like I remember watching it back in the day on Comedy Central. You didn't need to like start it from the
Adult
beginning.
Swim.
There was, or yeah.
I have to. That's Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah, that's right. Whatever it was, yeah, whatever it was.
Okay.
But I would turn it on, it would be like, and you could just be in the middle of it, and it didn't matter because it was like it was all these short sketches. There was not a lot of like, is there linear references? Maybe I miss them.
Yeah, I mean, occasionally we'll do like a 3-beat or something like. Our specials have some linear stuff for them, like our Star Wars specials and things like that. But yeah, again, it's ADD TV. That's what we want.
That's perfect for this generation. We're like, the younger generations, the TikTok generation.
It's ahead of its time.
Yeah, no, seriously. Well, now how will you promote the Von Dingles with like TikTok with clips and things like that?
Oh man, I wish I knew a little bit more about that TikTok. I mean, I guess at some point we probably should, but
when we start having more animated stuff, we will go. As it is right now, the only things that exist is this Kickstarter, and we started up an Instagram account, and it's basically posting one crazy image of these eggs a day, and it's starting to get a little bit of traction. Like it had 0 followings like a couple weeks ago, and now, again, we never told anyone about it. I think it's at like 500. So it's like slowly starting to build. Somehow it's getting out there.
yeah, it's a good peek of the world of the Von Dingles outside of their little hidden valley.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you guys now, do you worry like in what year is this? 2023? Do you worry about like the PC stuff? And like, I mean, you look at Robot Chicken, I just feel like that was what made that show so great. It was unhinged. It was just totally chaotic and it made fun of everything. Do you ever have complaints like organizations, religious or PC organizations get mad at you, or do you care about that stuff at all?
Yeah, I mean, we do, but we offend everyone equally. So I don't think that's too much of a problem.
Right.
And you do it with love also.
And we do it with love. I think that's also the key. It's like let me rephrase that. We're not trying to make fun of things because they're good or bad. It's more taking the worlds that they built and turning them 90 degrees on their side. It's what's the conversation that happens right after a moment? It's what's the conversation that happened before the crazy scene that you remember. That's what we really like to tap into.
Right, because you're making fun of things that you love, like Star Wars. Like you're making fun of Star Wars, but you guys obviously love Star Wars.
Oh, beyond. Like there's nothing I love more than Star Wars. Yeah, it's The fact that I've gotten to work with George Lucas and meet him, like that, there's the person who did a voice on the show that could not have been better. And he came in. I thought he was going to be this super serious, like straight face guy. He has a darker sense of humor than most people who've been on our show. You know,
Really?
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. He's fantastic. And you get it. Like he's a grounded man. Yeah. And his improving was perfect. So
Yeah, that first
credit.
special where it's so interesting where he's like getting mobbed by fans. I'm like, that must be realistic. That would be really weird to meet George
Yeah,
Lucas.
I don't know how people who are that famous, you know, can survive being chased by fans the way they are sometimes.
I mean, man, that's a little bit like you at Comic-Con, don't you think?
No, I put a hat on. It's fine.
Well, yeah, they don't recognize you with that hat.
Do you get a little mob to come? I would think that's your fan base. Like those are
that's
I
a
wouldn't
Super
say
Bowl.
mobbed. I like the fan base. I think they come up to you after it's just when they get you at a certain place in like the bathroom. That's where it gets a little awkward. But otherwise,
super awkward.
but otherwise for me it's not like Seth. Like Seth gets mobbed. I can hide into the backdrop and I like that. So
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I was on a studio tour. I think it was Warner Brothers or something years ago. And we were like looking for celebrities, and my girlfriend's like, "That's Seth Green." And I have a picture of him. It's the funniest picture because he's like, "Oh,"
Wow.
like, he's looking at me like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like,
That's
"It's so
cool.
weird." Yeah, it was really cool. But he kind of gave me like a look like what's wrong with you? 'Cause I was like, "Seth Green, oh my God." I was like,
I want to see that.
But he
No,
must do
yeah.
that all the time, right?
Yeah, no, he's great with fans. He's so good. And it's just when it becomes a little overwhelming that I don't know how people are supposed to react. Like if you're mobbed by, 50 people at the same time who all want the same thing and you have to be somewhere else, how do you manage a situation like that? I have no idea. Like I watched celebrities have to manage that, and it's
a skill for sure.
I feel stressed for them.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I saw this video online. It was Harrison Ford, and these guys were coming in, and he was walking through his hotel or something. And there was a line of people, and they're all wanting him to sign stuff. And they were so rude. And he was just, I felt bad for him. I mean, I know there's worse people off than him, but I just felt so awkward and uncomfortable for him. And then, these people are taking all that signed stuff and selling it on eBay or whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is what I like about some celebrities who's like, "What's your name?" And they'll make sure to put their name on it.
Ah, that's smart.
Yeah.
Good hacks on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, cool. So the Von Dingles, that people can they can still donate, even though you said you reached the goals, people can still donate on Kickstarter and get some of these prizes. Some of the prizes are sold out.
So yeah, some of those are, and then we keep putting new ones on. So keep checking. There are some fun ones. And if we hit a later, that beard of Harv's that he's showing off right now can get
showing
shaved.
off. Raiding around.
Like, so if we hit a certain number, that can get shaved. We'll see how that works.
Really? That's one of the prizes?
Yeah. If we get to a new higher, I think it's a lot of money that we have to actually
We'll go right under that goal. I'm cool leaving it. Thank you.
Will it be totally shaved, or would you leave like a mustache or something?
Oh, it's got to go completely gone. There's no leaving any. I would not allow that.
Hair on the head too?
Ooh.
No, we're just talking beard here. Let's not get too crazy.
All right, cool guys. Well, I'm excited to see more of this Von Dingles. The short is brilliant, and of course all the Robot Chicken stuff. Anything else you want to promote?
No, just anything with Von Dingles that you guys want to devote to this. It's going to be a great project. I can't say much more beyond. I'm very excited for it. Harv's done a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
I loved what I saw. It was very short, obviously, but I'm excited for more. So very cool.
Awesome.
All right, thanks guys.
Well, very nice to speak with you.
Yeah, you too.
Appreciate it.
All right, talk to you later.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the full podcast episode. Please help support our guests by following them on social media and purchasing their products, whether it be a book, album, film, or other thing. And if you have a few extra dollars, please consider donating it to their favorite charity. If you want to support the show, you can like, share, and comment on this episode on social media and YouTube. And if you want to go the extra mile, you can give us a rating or review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. Finally, make sure you're subscribed to the show on YouTube for the video versions and other exclusive content. We appreciate your support. Have a great rest of your day, and shoot for the moon.